justice for why me big man. Wachila moye church. Wala tupwisha bega kutupwisha wakamba. Katwale kyo kulanda big man. Why you think? Maina watata. Sabia tuwasevana. Wakamba. Wanesa tuwakweni. Mujala chetu. Ichi ya Zambia. Tuamona mwepwa. Tuamona mwepwa. Nama objections wakamba. Owo muteko tuwaleta. Wadulete lama. Amazala mush. No you can take her. Wala ipompa chureka. No you can take her. Apa nomba bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. When you taya kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Itaya kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuliati kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mayona batata. Ba mayona batata. Ba youthi. Tientu isuli ya menso. Batu sendela nomba batu ipaila na hope Yesu. Edgar Lungu watu bela tinani kwa tila plan B. Nomba tu adishiba plan B aba mmino ya kualesa. Bantu banga wala fa mcharo chesu cha Zambia. Ibanga abantu wala wa abducted mcharo chesu cha Zambia. Bambire kuli jeje banda. Ibanga abantu wala wa prison. Abena chitotela chilangwa. Wote wa prison netunguru shina shimbi. Muri one government ya kwa echechi. Abantu naba fa mweleza. Aikata nomba baikata na kuli Edgar Lungu watu kwa tile plan B. Apa kubo vya mufulo big man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Bila mine batsendela Edgar Lungu. Apa nomba bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. When you taya kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Itaya kwa fwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuliati kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. HH does not mean well for Mother Zambia. Zambia to Asebana, this is not the Mother Zambia that we were left with by our ancestors, our forefathers who fought so hard to liberate us. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Nalumino Mundia, Mama Julia Chikamoneka, Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, they fought so hard to put this country on the map, to put this country where it is today. No man would destroy this country because we believe in unity. One Zambia, one nation, and we shall together we will change, and we are going to change this government. My name is Blaze Zambia.
Good day, it's 30th July 2025, Wednesday, the day that the Lord has made, and we're glad that you are joining us in today's broadcast. We're privileged that we are hosting a spokesperson for the Zambia We Want political party. Remember, it's been a movement, but now it has transformed itself into a political party. And we'll be hosting Honorable Muhabi Lungu. He has just arrived on our, on our set. We've just finished the connection, and we're going to have a wonderful program. I'm just waiting for the finalization just to check that everything is okay. But we are going live just now with Honorable Muhabi Lungu. Sorry, I don't know what's happening with with the connections, but we are well.
Lelo bwacha bakamba mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia ekyaweka Enjoy. Abantu bafa bakamba kule munfumbwe. More than 20 people balebe pati ni babiri. Bagamba. Fish to arufyanye. People have died. Mumino yabaka pakola. The police killing people. Why? In this same government, bagamba, abductions have happened. Bagamba. If you're not with them, it's either you're dead or you're in prison. This government, you're going to change, big man. Fish to arufyanye bakubika mu office. Fish to arufyanye. Why me? Missing. Achani ruba mwaicho and dishonor. Where is why me? Hey church, tell us with your government, where is why me? Give us why me. Justice for why me, big man. Wachila mo hey church. Wala tupwisha bega kutupwisha bagamba. Katwale kya kulanda big man. Why you think? Maana watata. Sambe tuwasevana. Bagamba. Wanesa tuwapweni. Mujalo chetu Icha Zambia Tuamona mwempwa Bagao Tuamona mwempwa Nama abductions bagao Ubu muteko tualeta Wadulete lama Amazala mush No yukateka Wala ipompa tudeka No yukateka Apa nomba bane Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wakukota bane Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wakufuatika Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wakufuatika fuatika Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wenyu tayakwa fwe Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Aikona man Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Itayakwa fwe Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Yati kwenyu Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Mayona batata Mayona batata Bayuthi Tyentuisuli amenso Tyentuisuli amenso Batusendela nomba batwipaila na hope Yesu Edgar Lungu watubela tinani kwa plan B Nomba tuwadishiba plan B aba mmino ya kualesa Bantu banga abalafa mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia Nibanga abantu abala abducted mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia Bambire kuli jenje banda Nibanga abantu abala mu prison Abena kitotela kilangwa Boze baba prison n'entunguru kina shimbi na shimbi Muli one government yagwa change Abantu n'abafa mwereza Aikata nomba baikata na kuli Edgar Lungu atukwatire plan B Abakubo byabyo omufulo big man Mufulo pa mufulo Bilabine batsendela Edgar Lungu Apa nomba bane Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wakukota bane Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wakufuatika Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wakufuatika fuatika Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Wenyu tayakwa fwe Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Aikona man Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Itayakwa fwe Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo Yafuli yati kwenyu Mufulo pa mufulo Mufulo pa mufulo HH does not mean well for Mother Zambia. Zambia to Asebana, this is not the Mother Zambia that we were left with by our ancestors, our forefathers who fought so hard to liberate us. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Nalumino Mundia, Mama Julia Chikamoneka, Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, they fought so hard to put this country on the map, to put this country where it is today.
You just don't survive. I know we have a shortage of land on so-called state land, titles. We want to create land on title properly, not taking a plot that belongs to State House, at State Lodge, and rezone it and allocate it to friends. Really? Someone can take land in State Lodge which they already know that is a controversial area. And really somebody is signing a title deed on land that belongs to the state already? More importantly, under this president? Icona. You don't survive when you do those things. You just don't survive.
If it's a felt need of the family, for example, that the president should not personally be in attendance. So what do we, why not delegate? Why not delegate? You know, why not delegate? You know, yes, it's awkward, but unusual situations, unusual circumstances may demand unusual responses. And it will appear, you know, the problem that we have as human beings is that we think they now would have lost, then they have won. But sometimes backing down and then allowing certain things to happen may not necessarily be a loss. It could be actually a sign that you are greater than the other because you are ready to, you know, to back down and give way, and for the sake of the greater good of the country.
Thank you very much, and we are now good to start. I think share the link. We are hosting Honorable Muhabi Lungu, spokesperson for the Zambia We Want, a recently loose movement that has been formalized and structured into a political party. We expect to host the current interim leader, Mr. Ernest Mwans, I think on Monday, but today we're privileged to share some views through their spokesperson. Honorable Muhabi Lungu is a distinguished diplomat. He served in various capacities at Ministry of Finance and has been a leading voice in our country, and we are glad to host him. Let me just welcome Honorable Muhabi Lungu. Honorable Muhabi Lungu, welcome to today's program, and thank you for making time, and thank you for according us this opportunity to host you.
Thank you for the invitation, my dear friend. Ambassador, I'm very grateful to be here. May I say good evening, good morning to all the viewers throughout the world. I think this is an opportunity for us, so I'm very grateful to be here.
The great opportunity to host you on the Conversation podcast. You're one of the early people that I covered, and you helped the Conversation podcast, you know, the forerunner to this forum, really take off, and great insights you gave us about your life, your participation, especially in the momentous political activities of 1991. To our dear viewers, just you can Google or you can ask AI to give you that podcast. It's very insightful. So we'll not go into particular details of the life of Honorable Muhabi Lungu. He covered it very well, and I ask you to just look it up and see. But just briefly tell us about yourself and where you are now in your station of life as you help opposition political parties.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the opportunity. Obviously, I am currently, as you have introduced me, I'm the spokesperson for the Zambia We Want. This is a political party which was announced a little bit more than a year ago. In fact, a year. It was announced in on July the 3rd. My involvement in the political process in this country goes back to when I was 23 years old in 1990. I am now 58 years, just turned 58 maybe 2-3 months ago. And I have been very active in trying to ensure that our country can go to the next level. I have always wanted to be an agent of change. I have always wanted to be a catalyst for reform. And my preoccupation throughout my political career has not necessarily to get a position or to get a title. I'm not very comfortable with titles. I think that sometimes those of us who have got it as their primary objectives to be movers of an idea are not necessarily concerned with what titles we get. So I have had, as you have said, a lot of jobs. And without going into details, I was part of the student union movement in 1990. I was part of the MMD, and I attended the first convention of the MMD in 1991. I then became a special assistant to Dr. Kaunda. I worked with him for 7 years, 5 of which I was his special assistant. I have been national secretary of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy just shortly after we lost power. And I was on the campaign committee of RB in 2011. And I also worked for the Ministry of Finance. I've been at the Zambia Development Agency. I've been an advisor to the government working for JICA. So really I've got quite a bit of experience in terms of both political governance as well as economic policy and planning as well as execution. So always prepared to lend a hand towards getting my country to the next level.
The current state of the country is a crisis, is a country in crisis and a country in mourning. And let's go to the other one, the country in mourning. Zambia lost its 6th president, Dr. Edgar Lungu, on 5th June 2025. And over 1.5 months later, his remains have not been put to rest. So the country remains, you know, somehow suspended. You can't go past this issue of the late president and the current standoff. Maybe probably start with your condolences and then give us an analysis where we are. And then there's particular reference to Dr. Kaunda, how his remains were treated, because Dr. Kaunda wished that he be put first in Chinsali at Shambalakale, and then later he revised. The point was that he wanted to be laid next to Betty. I was privileged, I was PS at a time when Mama Betty died. Northern Province and Muchinga were under me. And President Michael Sata gave me instructions to go and prepare Shambalakale because Mama Betty and Dr. Kaunda were going to be laid there. So you were a spokesperson for 7 years. You can use this opportunity and give us insights to the current standoff where we are. But maybe start with your condolences.
Okay. Yeah, well, certainly the bereavement that we have in the country is a very sad one. Death is never easy. And certainly I wish to convey my condolences to the Lungu family, first and foremost, and then to the larger family of the Lungu, since he was president of the PF at the time. So I also convey those condolences to the PF. I had an opportunity, myself and my colleague, Ambassador George Chilumanda, to have traveled to South Africa when we all thought we were going for a church service and a burial. Unfortunately, when we arrived there, we were told that there was this dispute and the burial never took place. We had an opportunity to actually convey our condolences personally to the former First Lady, to Mama Esther Lungu, and to the family. And we could see that obviously she was in a lot of pain. And she was also in a lot of anguish at the development that had occurred, in that all of us were seated there in church waiting for us to proceed. And the state went to the extent of carrying out what they did. So I think that is unfortunate. My condolences, heartfelt condolences. That is the first thing. The second issue, I think I have to be very blunt, that if you are being fair, if you are trying to look at this thing from all sides and every angle, one has no other choice but to conclude that the manner in which the state has handled this bereavement has been very, very bad. It has been in bad taste. It has appeared that the state's aim has been to punish the family, and that is exactly what they are doing. I think there is no other way in which you can conclude, apart from the fact that this is a government who wants to punish a person who they see as an adversary. It was handled very, very badly, starting from the people who they chose to go and try and negotiate with the family. That is Honorable Kavindele and the former and Leslie Mbola, both of whom I know and I have a lot of respect of. But unfortunately that both of them had made what one would regard as snide remarks and unfair remarks on the bereavement and on the legacy of Dr. Lungu. And I think that it was very careless for the government to have chosen people who clearly the rest of us knew that they would not be the remarks that they had made. And subsequently the breaking of the agreement, which was publicized to everyone, we were all expecting. The fact that they also breached that agreement is also in bad taste. The fact that after they were quite sure that the family wanted to proceed with the burial, that they would go to the extent of actually going to put an injunction is also in bad taste. So my view is that the state has handled this very carelessly, and I think that in all honesty they should have allowed for the family to carry on with the burial as the family had wished. It is not in the best interest of the state or any of us to prolong the issue of having the family keep the body for 2 months now, literally. Now, you also asked the question about the comparison which is being made with the issue of Dr. Kaunda. And I have always personally shared the people that I don't think that that is a very fair comparison. The only similarity between Dr. Kaunda's issue and that of Dr. Edgar Chagwa is the fact that you had 2 former heads of state who had passed on. I think that that is really the only similarity. The differences are the following. The first difference is that Dr. Kaunda died more than 20 years after he left office. And when he died, the people who were in government were not the people who he and the family thought were persecuting him. So there was no acrimony between Dr. Kaunda and the people who were in government. I think that that is a very fundamental difference. On the other hand, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu died shortly after he left office, 3.5 years after he left office, and that the people who the family and the PF saw as their persecutors by the fact that they could not allow him to go to seek medical help, that they were making his life generally miserable, were people who directly took over after him. So I think that people have to understand that that in itself is a major difference. Okay, that one had acrimony with the government, the other one did not. There were maybe 3-4 other presidents between when Dr. Kaunda died and when there was some acrimony with the state. So that is the first difference. The second difference between the two is the fact that my understanding was that in the Kaunda family issues, there was no unanimity within the family about the decision which was being taken by one member of the family who wanted to pursue the interest of Dr. Kaunda in regard to what he was told. But there were other members of the family who actually were of the view that they should side with the government. In fact, I am aware of the negotiations that were taking place with various members of the family of the Kaundas. As you know, and as we've discussed, I think I can honestly claim that I'm fairly close to the family. I wasn't part of the negotiations or whatever, but I was privy to what was going on. So there was no disagreement. However, in the case of the Lungu family, there is absolute unanimity within the family of President Lungu as to what instructions and what desires they believe was given to them. So there was no difference there. And I think that that is a major difference. Third difference, and I'll get to the last one in a while. The third difference is this, that at the time that Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu passed on, he was president of an active political party. In other words, he was in active politics. And while he was in active politics, his benefits were all withdrawn. At the time Dr. Kaunda died, he was not in active politics, and he had all his benefits. Again, that is a major difference. And lastly, it is actually dishonest to suggest that the burial of Dr. Kaunda took place as a result of a court order. I saw my brother Kaweche Kaunda when he was explaining this, that the court order came after there was already a decision by the state to bury Dr. Kaunda because there were some negotiations with other members of the family and other people who said that they should proceed to do so. So it is inaccurate to suggest that that burial was as a result of a court order. In fact, Kaweche boycotted to the burial on the strength that his father, Dr. Kaunda, had told him that he should do everything possible to prevent the state taking over the burial. So he wasn't even there. Okay? So I think that these are cardinal differences. But let me conclude on this matter by saying this. I think that from the perspective that I saw when I had an opportunity to sit with Mama Esther Lungu, I think that in the unlikely event that the court would make a decision that the burial should take place in Zambia with the participation of the state, my fear is that the family feels so aggrieved that they may take the position which my elder brother Kaweche took by boycotting the burial. Now, I hope that it doesn't come to that, but I know of cases where families decide, in our local language, kufwitila. And I don't think that that would be in the best interest of the family, nor would it be in the best interest of the state. So that is where I would leave this matter at the moment.
Clearly, the standoff is totally unnecessary. I think it demonstrates lack of leadership, and it exposes, in my view, President Hakainde Hichilema's approach to many issues. You know, and this matter probably would have been resolved. What do you think they should have done differently? And the matter is in court. What do you think can be done? Is there still hope to resolve this standoff? Because the hostility keeps on going.
I think that the best way in which this matter can move.
The letter that was done yesterday by the Attorney General's lawyers, where they are saying there are envoys that have been sent by the state to ensure that they see the body, and they're using words like inspect, authenticate. Now, one would wonder, why would they send people to authenticate? First, are they doubting the signatures of the doctors who certified the president dead? What do they mean when they say authenticate? Did that word surprise you? And for me, that goes to lengthen the crisis further, because it sows seeds of discord, and I think pain for the family. I don't know what your views are, Mr. Lungu.
Well, again, I think that, let me be as blunt as I possibly can. I think that the behavior of the state is an act of absolute cruelty to the family of the late Edgar Lungu. It's just cruel. It's extremely cruel. And as you are saying, it is an indication of the type of character that I believe is descriptive of those people who feel that they must do what they are doing. In my advice in resolving this matter is for the state to withdraw the court case in South Africa, to apologize to the family for the enormous pain that they have caused to them, and to allow the family to proceed and bury. I think that really, for me, that is the most suitable way to go. So if I was in the position of President HH, that is the position I would take. Anything else is just a continuation of cruelty to the family. Now, let me also say that if you consider the issue of the affidavit which they submitted, in which they want to inspect the body, I have actually had conversation with a lot of people who believe the propaganda that has been spread by the UPND government that it is in fact false that the former president has passed. And I find that that is very detestful, and I believe that it is an enormous ask by the government to ask people to believe that there could be some sort of foul play in terms of creating an impression that someone has passed when that person has not passed. It would be an incredible act to ask that so many people would travel to South Africa, that there would be the Archbishop of Lusaka there, that there would be the Archbishop of Johannesburg to attend a funeral mass if the family has decided to dupe the state about somebody's death. I think that behavior like this for a country of ours is extremely worrying. And I would not blame those people who believe that there is superstition involved and that there is possibilities, accusations or fears of witchcraft involved. I am a Christian myself. I know that the devil exists, and I know that black magic exists. I don't believe witchcraft, but clearly it appears that some of the players in the UPND government appears to believe in black magic. I mean, one has no other conclusion to arrive at. And that is very sad in a country which says that it is a Christian nation. And the fact that the clergy, some of the clergy have tried to lend credibility to the cruelty of the state to a family is worrying for me. So if they want to resolve this issue, I think that the best way is for the state to withdraw.
Yeah, this gives us a window, like I said, to President Hichilema's approach to national leadership. Earlier I played a video, I don't know if you saw it, but I might play it again, where at the swearing ceremony, he was literally threatening to take the entire state lodge area where it was degazetted, rezoned, and people were given plots. In fact, Community House is from Forest 26. Then there's famous Forest 27.
Yeah.
Then there's State Lodge. So I think if he wishes to go that way, probably we should go back to Forest 26 where Community House sits. Then we go to Community, to Forest 27 where you have senior people like Jack Mwimbu who are also there. If he's being fair about land issues and land distribution or land crisis, probably he needs to go Walsam. And it gives us a view again of why he probably wanted the so-called Bill 13 to amend and give powers, immense powers to an administrator, a junior civil servant, a registrar. And the nation was alarmed, and I'm glad that today in Parliament that matter was deferred. So define for us the state of the country. What do you think is the state of the country?
I can safely say, with a very clear conscience, that if you look at the various events that have occurred in the last 4 months, that the only way that a person would describe what has been going on in our country is that the last 4 or 5 months have been some of the darkest chapters in our country. If we go back to the revelation and the dispute regarding the ZAM stats and what was being announced to the public by the chairman of the Public Service Commission disputing the figures, if you include the enormous betrayal to the Zambian people of trying to bring a constitution which was not consultative and clearly designed to ensure that it consolidates the power of the executive without asking the general public. If you look at the issue to do with the shooting incident in Mfumbwe and the people who were killed there, and the lack of policy direction regarding the gold mining in Mfumbwe, if you look at the debacle which we have just been discussing, the cruel treatment that has been shown to the Lungu family, if you look at the Cybersecurity Act and all the arrests of sedition that have happened within the last 3 months, clearly you cannot fail to agree with those of us who are saying that the government seems to be exercising all of its powers to manipulate the public in trying to drive the agenda which is beneficial for the President of the Republic and his party, at the sole exclusion of the opposition and the Zambian people. And so, in my many years of being in the political arena, I think that the last 4 or 5 months have been some of the darkest chapters. They have represented, in my view, what I would refer to as an existential crisis to the national state of Zambia. And I think that if we as the opposition don't get together to ensure that this stops by ensuring that we defeat him in the months that are remaining, we will be creating a very dangerous situation which has got the potential of going beyond our control after 2026. So the state of the nation is very bad. And I think that it appears that the government really doesn't care what any of us think, and they are determined to ensure that they stifle the democratic process which we started in this country some 30 years ago.
You worked at Ministry of Finance, you're an economist and you've been a diplomat. I think in the state of the country, I'll bring this question. In 2022, Zambia was classified as one of the 6th poorest countries. On the top 20 of poor countries, Zambia was number 6. And then on income inequality, because we have a few people having a lot of money and the rest of the country very, very extremely poor. So again, Zambia was classified as among those countries that are most unequal. Number 1 is, I think, South Africa. Zambia is again number 6. But there have been some development. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, appointed a very renowned statistician, Mr. Oliver Chinganya. I can attest, I've worked with him very well at the African Union. He was at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. He was one of the 3 top directors there. But there's something strange that is happening. You must have noted the statistics that are coming from there. I think there's an attempt to reclassify our country using either fraud or false statistics. Why do I say so? Look at Zambia. Just last year, we experienced the worst drought in 100 years. We have the worst load shedding, power cuts, I think, which we haven't witnessed in the last 60 years. Businesses have been affected very, very severely. Companies have closed. Big companies can't do numerous shifts, maybe 3 shifts, because they just can't afford fuel or gensets, or, solar is also not very reliable. And then Zambia is experiencing one of the worst cost of living crises, I think, in the last 60 years. Amidst that, check the statistics that have come. That Zambia posted a growth between 6 to 8% just last year. They've even now revised, all the other key indicators. And I saw last week a publication on what is being attributed to World Bank, that Zambia now has jumped, is now a lower middle income, it's no longer among the 20 poorest countries. Using these fictitious figures and the state of our country. I don't know if you have looked at these recent statistics that have, for example, our lifespan has been changed, I think, from 49 now to 67. Tonga language is the most spoken language in the country, and then there's been a sudden revision of key indicators like inflation rate. Yeah. Then there's been an attack on the exchange rate. It has appreciated significantly from 28 kwacha to 1. It's now hovering around 23 kwacha. I invite your comment on these matters.
Okay. Let me tackle this from 2 perspectives. I think because you are basically asking an economic question, but at the same time questioning the statistics that are trying to give us an indication of how well or how bad the economy is doing. So I'll separate them. One of the reasons in which I mentioned the issue of ZamStats as one of the issues which brought all of us together as the opposition is because I think we all realize the importance of statistics, of numbers, of data. because we can only make decisions which are cogent, we can only make decisions which make sense if the data that we are using is reliable and trustworthy. But when a political subtext creeps into the equation, it always creates a doubt in those who are looking at the data. And at that point, it destroys credibility, and none of us can then begin to quote these figures with a level of confidence for which we're supposed to quoting them. Now, I am trained, and I have worked as an economist in the Ministry of Finance, at the Zambia Development Agency, as I said, and at JICA as an economist. And yet, over the last few months, I have refrained from making statements about the economy using figures. There was a time last year in which the president, during an opening of the parliament, boasted that he had a growth rate of, an average growth rate of 5.3% over the last 3 years. And I think he said that in 2012. I wrote a very lengthy article in which I was basically disputing the figures that were being presented to the Zambian people in order for him to arrive at the calculation of 5.3%. And I think that in that article, I proved the case that if you look at the data and the information which was being provided by the Ministry of Finance to parliamentary select committees and to the revisions of the growth figures in terms of projections, actual figures, downgrading of the year, that the story that was being presented about a 5.3 figure was actually inaccurate. I was never responded to by the government. Nobody even made a chance to appeal to them. Beyond, over and above that issue, when the ZAMSTAS was released, the issue of the number of registered voters, which the Electoral Commission had announced that they wanted to achieve, I think they said they had wanted to achieve 10.5 million people who they are going to register. Again, I raised objections, and I wrote a number of articles disputing the possibilities and probabilities of us reaching 10.5 million registered voters, and how in their projection they felt that we could get a certain number of voter turnout, when the average in this country, if you look at that, all our elections is between 35 and 42% of the population. Again, there was no response to that information. There was a demand in that article from me and others who were demanding that we need to have an external audit of the register before we go to the elections next year. And we as a Zambia, we want still demand that there should be a comprehensive external audit of the register so that we are all satisfied that it is above suspicion. That is the second point. The third point is just a snippet of what you've said in regard to the statistical inference that all of a sudden that the Tonga has become the second most spoken language in the countries next over Nyanja. Again, if you look at the growth patterns of all of the various regions and places by which the two languages have been spoken over the last perhaps 4 or 5 census reports, it would give you a trajectory which would make it very difficult for you to come to understand why one particular language group has overtaken another one. Clearly there is a political subtext in this, and there is a way in which you can actually dispute that figure. Now, unfortunately, we have been put in a position where it appears that I would be dealing with this issue because I'm defending my province against the other. That is not the case. In the marketplace, the language that is usually widely spoken, say in the urban areas or even in the local areas, is determined by the general activities of the population. So, for example, if you're going to have music singers who are going to produce music, you will find that the language which is commonly used by the majority of people will be reflected in the language in which the musicians use in order to sell their music. By the same token, you would be able to delineate this by looking and say, okay, the plays that are put on television, what language are they using? Again, that is also a barometer and an indicator of which language the artist feel will have the greatest resonance if you put it. And I can go on in a lot of areas, even advertising. So if you look at the trajectory and the percentages by which each region has grown, and then you look at what the market is telling you, there is clearly a lot of room for you to dispute that particular statistical inference. So the question becomes, why has it become so important that it had to be publicized and indicated that there had been an adjustment in terms of which language is more spoken? And clearly, again, you would come to the conclusion that there is a political subtext to this. Now, when the government begin to politicize data, the danger is that all of us who like to use data as a basis in which to arrive at conclusion begin to mistrust that data. And therefore, it becomes very difficult to discuss economic parameters when there is such a disagreement in terms of what is authentic and what is being made up. So that is the one side of it. The second side of this is this. And I want to give a practical example. Even if you were to come to the conclusion that the growth rate of 6% was actually true, in terms of making a determination as to whether the economy is at a place where it ought to be, you would also need to look at other figures from an economic point of view as to whether those figures are affecting the reality on the ground. So you would need to look also at inflation figures. You would also need to look at lending rates in the banking sector. You would also need to look at other parameters to be able to determine whether the growth rate is actually having a positive impact on the population, including the point that you have made earlier on. Growth does not translate into equity of distribution of that growth. But that is an argument for the other day. But the practical example I wanted to give, just 2 days ago, knowing that I was going to come to your show, I wanted to look smart. Of course, I took two of my suits to take them to the laundry, including the one I'm wearing. And I was oblivious. So the last time I took some suits to the laundry, I think was about 3 months ago, and I couldn't remember how much I paid. I took it to Crossroads, and when I gave the two suits, the bill that came to me was $300. I was a bit taken aback, because I do recall that within the last few years that I had come here from the Foreign Service, that the two suits did not cost me $300. The 300 kwacha. That the two suits just 2 years ago, I paid perhaps 150. Okay, so you can see that there has been, in real terms, in as far as the laundry is concerned, there has been a jump of 100%. Now, I've used an example of a middle class, upper middle class individual who is concerned with his suits. But even if you were to take this to the level of just groceries, you will find that a year ago, the price that I was paying for the 1 liter milk that I think everyone buys was 100% cheaper than the way it is costing a year later. So in terms of the actual cost of living, there are even figures which people can do on their own without relying on the central statistics, because there is some dispute, which will show you that the cost of living is extraordinarily very high, and that whatever gains that may have been brought about by having an increment in the growth figures have all been wiped out by all the other factors, which we will probably need another half hour to look at. So there is no equity between the growth of the GDP per capita as opposed to the real impact it is having on the price of commodities, and on the standard of living of the average person on the street. So that is my reflection on that, in that regard.
Yeah, clearly the data, I think that was my point, is that data appears politicized. As soon as you cannot trust the data, then you've thrown it in the political realm. Zambia Statistics Agency must be so credible that no one must doubt their statistics. In fact, even similarly to the state, you know, that's what even causes the emergence of two parallel markets, one a black one which becomes a genuine market, and the official one. They'll tell you $1 is at this rate, but people are willing to buy it or sell it at another rate. The emergence of another market is forced because your statistics and data is not correct.
And you know, my brother, just to cut you off, that if you look at the history of autocratic governments, if you look at the history of dictators, what you call real dictators, the first thing they begin with is to try and distort the figures and rewrite history and have a situation where the old truth is replaced by a new truth. And that new truth, which is reflective of what the government wants to do in terms of trying to manipulate the minds of the people. So this is a very big issue. I mean, I think that in our country we often enough reduce the importance of these particular issues for the things which are very clear. What the government is doing is very bad, and I think that we as the opposition, together with the cooperating partners and even the education institutions like the University of Zambia and so on, should be able to demand for a thorough re-evaluation and an audit of all the figures that are being put forward. I work for the Ministry of Finance, and I do know that even the figures that the World Bank and the IMF were using basically were figures which were being given to them by Zamstats, at that time Central Statistics. Now, of course, I am aware that the World Bank and the IMF also do their own due diligence using some of the same information which Zamstats would collect in order to be able to try and verify. But largely, even the figures from the World Bank and the IMF are dependent on what is legally the provider of legal information in Zambia, being the Central Statistics. Now, because there has been a dispute, because there is been a suspicion, I think that it is only fair that there has to be some form of due diligence done on all of these figures by independent bodies. This is not to cast any aspersions to the current director or anything like that, but I think that if they want us to have some form of confidence in the figures that are being presented, I think that they owe us that at minimum.
Yeah, about revising history, you know, this reminds me, just last year, I think a new organization, Nobo Harimwangankumbula Foundation, was formed. I think it was graced by President Hakainde Hichilema, and the guest of honor was the Chief Justice Mumba Malila. But the talk there was that they were trying to revise history because there were many people who were neglected, who have not been recorded in the history of our country. It's like there was now an attempt to revise our history, just like what you were saying, that autocratic government have a tendency to attempt to write history from their lenses instead of the factual history. ECZ is a matter of serious worry. If we've identified the crisis that we face, ECZ will be the midwifery. It will be the midwife to deliver a new government. But you are aware that I think President Hakainde Hichilema, by various international reports and by our own perspective, is being accused of shrinking the democratic space, is being accused of entrenching tyranny in our country. You demonstrated by the litany of oppressive, repressive, and terrible laws that he is passed or is attempted to pass, literally to strengthen the presidency. And then the utter control of institutions like ECZ. The democratic institutions are under threat, and ECZ is one of them. There is cause to worry. First of all, for the first time in our country, the Electoral Commission of Zambia will not be led by Chief Justice, by a Supreme Court judge or a High Court judge. It's being led by a lawyer, literally from the street. She could be qualified, but she's not a judge. This has been a significant departure from where the ECZ has been led by a sitting a judge. Secondly, the person appointed, Honorable Mangala Zalumis, has been associated with the UPND. She's literally a member of the UPND. You have McDonald Chipenzi, one of the commissioners. And then you have the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Brian Kasaro, who were the concerns around his dismissal in 2016 because he was accused of attempting to manipulate results for UPND. With these three key officials, there is great concern if it is possible that ECZ can deliver a free and fair elections in 2026. Then there are concerns around their programs. They are still printing ballots outside the country. I think there appears to be an attempt to introduce either electronic voting, and they've just given a new contract to an unknown company that has never undertaken such works, to a $2.5 million contract to carry works for biometric work for the ECZ. There are clearly serious concerns around ECZ. What's your reflection, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, I think that it's fair to state that any organization which is playing the role of an umpire or a referee must be above suspicion from the perspective of the players. It has to be above suspicion. Any organization which is an umpire, if there are questions of suspicion, if there are questions of lack of confidence, it is the onus of the government to ensure that that suspicion is removed, and that all of the various components and issues which are being raised by the players, that we don't feel that we can get reliable treatment or justice from this institution, that the government must be compelled to listen. Now, obviously, those of you who know my history a little bit more would know that I have a relationship with Mrs. Alomis, in the sense that I have known her for a long time at a very personal level. When I was a special assistant for Dr. Kaunda, she was in fact the chairman of legal for UNIP. When I was arrested together with my colleagues, accused of treason and murder in 1996, one of the lawyers who represented me was Mrs. Alomis. In fact, she was the one who was there when I was being charged by treason. So I've known her for a long time. So what I'm saying is not in any way trying to bring her as an individual in disrepute, but the fact that people know that she has had political history in UNIP, in other political parties, as well as in UPND, has created a situation where people have lost confidence. And I think that issue must be looked at from a professional point of view. Again, that is the same for McDonald Chipenzi. During the time that he was very active within the NGO world, I actually sat with Mr. Chipenzi on many platforms, together the two of us, whether it was at Radio Phoenix, whether it was in Monze, we would travel. And of course, there is a view, which is a very legitimate view, from a lot of people who say that these are actually political players. You cannot remove that view, which has been arrived at legitimately by people, and expect that they will not have levels of suspicion. Beyond that, if then it appears that there are certain issues which are, and decisions that are being made which appears to be at the influence of politicians, for example, Mr. Chawinga, who claims, and we have no reason not to believe his claim, that I have instructed the Electoral Commission of Zambia to ensure that no PF regalias is used, and then there is a statement from the commission that we're not going to do this. Clearly people put one and two together, and you can't blame them for again arriving at a conclusion of lack of confidence or of suspicion. So clearly I think that we have to demand, as an opposition political parties as a collective that the issue of the Electoral Commission of Zambia has to be resolved to the extent that all of us have got confidence in it, and that the Electoral Commission is above suspicion. That is the minimum criteria. It has to be above suspicion by all of us who are interested in playing and arriving at a fair conclusion to the game of politics. You know?
Let me come to the issue of unity and national unity, then opposition, unity in the opposition. You've been very instrumental in trying to bring the opposition together. I'm aware that you've played a key role. You've met various stakeholders and probably all the leaders in the opposition, even before, you know, the Zambia we want was born. Why do you think that it is inevitable for the opposition to unite? Are you suggesting the opposition is so fragmented, so weak, that it can't stand against President Hakainde and the UPND? Why is unity in the opposition so critical at this juncture? Yeah.
My brother, the opposition unity is extremely critical at this juncture. But before I go into some of the numbers, because when you invited me, I said, no, this is a good opportunity for us to thoroughly discuss this issue of opposition unity. So I prepared a few notes which I wanted to share with the audience. I want to reiterate the position given that I am a proud member of the Zambia We Want. We are doing everything possible to try and promote our party, even though it is young. But as you correctly put it, many of us who came to form the Zambia We Want, even before we formed it, our initial trajectory was that we should be able to find a mechanism by which we bring in as many opposition political parties as possible to begin to work together so that we can be able to effectively provide checks and balances much more effective as we are doing now, as a collection of very small individual political parties, and that we would be able to effectively challenge the government in 2026 to the extent that we can defeat them. So that was the premise of the Zambia We Want, and I think that as we started it, other things came in, which I think created some sort of loss of trajectory overall. But I think that those issues I can deal with them at another time. Let me get to some of the issues which I think are very important for me to say. And the position is this, my brother. Getting together as a united opposition front, not just UKA, not just all of us, in our view, is an absolute necessity. It is an absolute necessity. And though now saying that this is required, I think that a lot of people are unaware of the underpinnings regarding the statistical information that we have, which would consolidate that position. And I would like to maybe look at just, if you will allow me, to look at 4 reasons why it is absolutely important to have opposition unity. And I'll go, we can discuss each one at a time, okay? The first reason is this, you know, and I say this because I don't think that the supporters and the followers of many of the presidential candidates are fully convinced. I think that it is very important that all of the supporters within the PF, within the Socialist Party, Zambia We Want, ULP, Heritage Party, which we've already been talking, most of us have already been talking, compel their leaders to consider this thing more seriously than they have before. So the first reason is this, and as I said, I have got 4 of them, is that for the first time since 1991, in the elections of 2026, we will not have a contender. As of now, before we have a general election, there is no contender in the opposition. And the definition of a contender is one who has by themselves present a serious threat to the person I would call as the heavyweight champion currently sitting in the seat. Whether we like it or not, the current heavyweight champion of the world is President Hakainde, who is sitting in the seat. All of the other 9 elections, there was always a serious contender. 10 months before the elections, 1 year before an election. So there was Mazoka and Christian Tembo and the others against the candidate of the sitting government, that is Vamwanawasa. The following elections, the main contender was Michael Sata, from far apart. The following elections, the main contender was Michael Sata and HH. The following election, the contender was President Lungu. There has always been a contender. For the first time in the next election, as of now, 8 months before, there is no contender. Now, people might say, but there are those people who participated in the elections in 2021. All of those that participated in 2021, no matter what their strengths are, and there's no intention to denigrate them, apart from the UPND and the PF under President Lungu, unfortunately, and due a bereavement, he is no longer there. The rest of the candidates, starting with Harry Kalawa, who was number 3, followed by Anford Banda, were not able to get a minimum threshold of 1%. To suggest that in the absence of opposition unity, that the third place candidate will be able to be a contender to the extent of getting 50+1 is actually a really, really tall order, which is almost an impossibility. Even if you were to assume that President Harry Kalawa, who was number 3, was to increase by 1,000% over what he performed, and there is no empirical evidence to suggest that that is possible, his tally would probably increase from 25,000, 1,000% to maybe 250. That is at best, with the registered voters that is currently there, 5% of the vote. Okay? So it is not possible. The only way, using this particular example, is for all of the opposition political parties to get together, by 70% of the core group, identify a contender. And that contender has to be identified within the next 2 to 3 months, so that you are then running with a contender for the last couple of elections. So that is the first reason that why opposition unity is absolutely paramount.
Let me just
in a Jehovah's Witness hall.
Yeah.
In the 10th anniversary, or how do you get
to be dishonored?
How do you get remembered in a SDA church when everyone knows that you're Catholic and so on, and the state insists?
Patrick,
how can you allow somebody who has murdered your son or your daughter,
sure,
and you are still mourning, to come and attend the funeral, and we need to speak at the funeral?
But how good your son,
was, and you know about it, you say, wait a minute, what's happening? And I think I can just say the whole thing. I summed it up when I spoke to one guy. I said, because how can you, Ambassador, a Catholic, be remembered in a Jehovah's Witness hall?
Yeah.
In the 10th anniversary, or how do you get
to be dishonored?
How do you get remembered in a SDA church when everyone knows that you're Catholic and so on, and the state insists? How can you allow somebody who has murdered your son or your daughter, and you are still mourning, to come and attend the funeral, and we need to speak at the funeral? but how good
Your son
was. And you know about it, you say, wait a minute, what's happening? And I think I can just say the whole thing, I summed it up when I spoke to one guy. I said, because how can you, Ambassador, a Catholic, be remembered in a Jehovah's Witness hall in the 10th anniversary, or how do you get
to be dishonored?
How do you get remembered in a SDA church when everyone knows that you're Catholic and so on, and the state insists?
Sorry, we had a mishap with this technology. Let's just understand the network is unstable for one reason or another. Our connections in between. My network looks okay here, so I don't know why this interference, but I can see you are back. Continue with your explanation. I'll give you time because this is very important. You've highlighted that, number one, you don't think there's a contender. There's no main contender, you are saying, why there should be opposition, why there should be unity in opposition, because number one item is that there's no main contender. And you cited the various factors and history of our country. Number two, you went to...
That's right.
The last results, and the last results you stated were very, very clearly that even number three, the person who came number three, and the others couldn't even make it to 1%. In fact, the spoiled votes were in excess of 250,000. The spoiled votes counted more than all the rest of the other candidates. So you are right about that. So you can proceed.
That is right. That is right. And you see, maybe to conclude off on just number one, is that the statistical data is only in reference to those who actually participated in the last election. And of course, I'm discussing concern not as a way of disrespecting any of them, but just looking at the data that is there. From the perspective of the PF, because there are also colleagues, and I respect the PF very much with what they are doing, and also feel a degree of what can I say, of sadness, the fact that they are dealing with the issues they are dealing with, both in terms of the bereavement as well as what the government is trying to do to the PF to ensure that they are unstable. But even from the perspective of the PF, whichever candidate is selected, of the candidates which have made their interest known, none of those candidates have been on the ballot before. So it is very difficult to quantify how they would perform the first time in the circumstances in which I have described. One does not want to make an assumption, but what is most probable is that if you look at the figures, and I think we can look at it another day, that the figures in terms of projections of how the PF has performed consistently, say in the last 5 years, would make it a situation that they might perform very well, but unlikely on their own to win. So that is the first.
Honorable Muhabi Lungu, I don't know if you can hear me. Just hold on. Honorable Muhabi,
yes, I can hear you.
Hold on. Just hold on. Okay. Let's just go for a brief break.
Yeah.
Abazunga batita kadongi nakula kwibukiza kateka kaibukubuna kapona neseko syove pameso yangwa maume baya kiyaba maume yiyaba maume kateka wabantu twakulira lelo twakulira kukonke milimo shove ukulabevyo wati tobwingi ibisebo wapanyini obwingi ukuchinja olusako kumoneko busaka mama kuzituwala basiyani chakwa katuse.
From what we see, what we read, they are handling the funeral in a manner African funerals must be handled, to respect the dead, to bury them with dignity. President Buhari died in London. He was brought home. We too have shown that example by burying all the 5 before the 6th president, near here. I think it's just behind, isn't it? Near here, all the 5. So we've established a tradition, protocols in line with the African culture. So we must continue with that culture, no matter what challenges, what difficulties there are. And I can't say that we've continued engaging the family quietly. Maybe I should confirm that. We've continued engaging the family quietly, because that's what it should be. And we do hope that consensus will be reached. And I want to ask Zambians, first, thank you for your patience. And secondly, to ask you to retain that patience as discussions continue. And so, part of your mandate there, as a devout Christian, is to whisper Zambia's agenda: peace, security, stability. Don't be like other Christians in our country. In the open, they proclaim Christianity. In the night, their actions are devilish, destructive. Be a true Christian. In the day, in the night, in the offices. Preach the message of peace, security, stability.
Thank you very much. I have a system here. It warns me if there is break or poor internet connectivity. So I had yellow warnings, and I didn't want our audience to lose the thoughts that Honorable Muhabi Lungu is explaining. He's explaining the imperatives of an opposition, why we need unity in the opposition. And he has illustrated. He started with point number 1. I'll ask him to quickly revise that and update you. And then we'll go to point number 2, point number 3. Then we open the phone lines after that. Let me just briefly resolve the issue of internet. The connectivity is now very wonderful, but I want to now invite Honorable Muhabi Lungu once again. We didn't want to lose any of his thoughts. Honorable Muhabi Lungu, sorry, we got you cut there. I hope you can hear me and you can hear me very
all
clearly.
right. Okay, I'll be quick. I had 5 points, but I can see that you talked about opening the phone line. So maybe let me deal quickly with 2 and then conclude with something that I think is very fundamental.
Yes,
so
please go
the second point is this.
Then we open phone lines we have a very dedicated audience that wants to interact with our guests. So I'd like to open the phone lines when you are done, but be thorough with it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so the second point is this. If you look at the history of all elections in Zambia going back to 1991, and you did all various permutations and and try to play around the data, what you discover is an undisputable fact that for anyone to win an election, the most feasible path of winning an election in Zambia is that you have to be able to win 3 of the large 5 provinces. So there are 5 provinces which in numerical terms are very key. And that of course is Lusaka Copper Belt, Southern, Northern and Eastern Province. You have to win a minimum of 3 of these, okay? And you have to win them convincingly. And over and above that, you then go to the other provinces, and in those other provinces, at least 3 of them, in the other 4 provinces, you have to obtain a minimum of 15%, okay? Now, if you look at the performance of the last elections, you had a situation where the UPND won 4 and the PF won 4, but not in consonant to sizes. All of the other opposition candidates, not one of the candidates from the opposition was able to get anywhere close to winning even 1 province. And if you were to play with all the various stipulations, and me and my team and other colleagues have tried, you find that the probability, even if you were to increase them by enormous percentages, that the chances of any one of us getting to win 3 of the 5 large provinces is nearly impossible as individuals. It is always safer to say, oh no, the UPND are very unpopular, therefore we'll be able to win. That is called conjecture, and there is no empirical evidence at all. And so the best path to ensuring that you win 3 of the large provinces convincingly and then get a minimum threshold in all the other ones is, at this point, the greatest probability is to have 1 ticket. At worst, you have 2 tickets. Anything beyond that, I am afraid that we would be giving the opportunity for the UPND to win. The third point, and I'll conclude with the third point because I'm conscious of the time, and then I want to just conclude with something that is very important. The third point is this, that according to our electoral map as it is now, you have 10 provinces, okay? And as I said earlier in my earlier point, the UPND has consistently been winning 4 of those provinces. And if I had time, I could have even given you a chart or a bar chart or a pie chart to just show what the trend has been. It is unlikely that in the 4 provinces for which they have been winning consistently for the last 5 elections, particularly in the last, that there will be a significant drop. Therefore, the UPND government and President HH will be starting in the next election with probably a ring-fenced figure of above 1.2, 1.3% at minimum. If there is a division in the 4 provinces, which were won by the opposition, and in this case it was all of them was PF, and if you look at the trajectory of those and look at the numbers, you would find that there is a problem there, both in terms of voter turnout as well as the percentage obtained by the winning candidate on those sides. So on this side of the 4, the voter turnout in Southern Province is 85%. Of that 85%, President HH wins 92%. On this side, the province which was number 1 for President Edgar Lungu was, I believe, Mchinga. The voter turnout from Mchinga was 67%. Compare that to 85. And then of that vote that he got 61%. And on the other side, there is 92%. So if you look at all of those trajectory, it gives you the indication that if there is no change in parameters in terms of voter turnout as well as of percentage voter turnout, that a single candidate will not be able to meet the minimum threshold. The only way that can be done is if there is 1 ticket or 2 tickets at most. So that is one of the third issue. Now, there were 2 others, but I will stop there, my colleague, and ask the question. Given all of these empirical evidence that I've given to you, there can only be 5 categories of people who would not come to the conclusion that it is important to have absolute necessity in opposition unity. And these are 5, and I'll just go quickly over them. I would have liked to have explained them in detail, but I know that we are running out of time. So if you do not come to the conclusion which many of us have come to, and many of us have come to that conclusion. I know that my older brother, Dr. Fred Membe, I know that Chishara Kateka, Sakwiwa Shkota, and our colleagues in the PF, a number of them we've been always speaking, have come to this conclusion. But if you are not to this conclusion, you are either, number 1, delusional. I'm sorry to use this very strong word. You are delusional, and that your delusion is bordering on some form of mental illness. That is 1. Number 2, if you are not delusional, then you are using your want to stand as a presidential candidate because it's a financing mechanism for you personally. And I do know, having been in politics for a long time, that there are some youth organizations abroad that will support youth organizations. There are some women organizations abroad that will support women's organizations. There are some organizations who've got specific mandates like LGBT or the Green Party who will put money in an elections in order to fight for those particular issues. So you are not doing it because you want to win. You are only doing it because you want to make money out of them. That is 2. Thirdly, you are a Trojan horse. And a Trojan horse means that you are either being used by the current government to create and sow division within the opposition, or on behalf of the current government, you are being used by external agents to ensure that you create division. Number 4, you are, and this one is a bit genuine, you are hedging. There are some people who believe that, okay, I may not be able to win this time around, but let me participate as long as I increase my tally maybe from 0.5 to 5%. It's okay. In 2031, I will try it again. That, I suppose, it's a legitimate reason for some, and one can't blame you for doing that. However, given the existential threat that we are facing as a people, I think that sort of reasoning is okay, let me just say it, is a selfish reason. That what you are thinking about is only your own personal ambition, and you are prepared to put your personal ambitions and the ambitions of your party ahead of the collective when we have got such a crisis in the country. The last category, and I'll stop here, is those people who genuinely believe that no matter what we do in the opposition, that there will be no agreement in terms of coming up with 1 ticket or 2 tickets. That therefore the only way is that because there are too many of us in the opposition which are selfish, we all want to be presidents, we all want to be worshipped, we all want to use the presidents as a vehicle for making money, not for the public, that we cannot submerge our particular ambitions to the ambitions of the country, that this will fail, and in such a case, let every political party just go in it alone. In a situation like that, many people who believe that think that what will happen in 2026 is that because of the unpopularity of the UPND government, that the UPND will fail to get the 3 provinces. You remember the first point I was making was that you need 3 of them. HH was unable to win these elections because since he started, he was unable to get 3 of the big 5. In the last elections, he managed to get the minimum 3, and that was Southern, Lusaka, and Copper Belt. Because of the way the trajectory goes, he is unlikely to win Lusaka and Copper Belt to the extent that he won him last time, meaning 56% for the Copper Belt and 54% for Lusaka. That in a situation like that, he will fail to get the 50+1 in the first round. So that even if there are 2 or 3 contenders on the other side, that we will then be forced into a rerun. And that in a rerun, there will be a forced situation on 1-on-1, and at that point, maybe the opposition can win. So, but I would like to point out that even if I had time, I would have been able to prove to you with statistics that that is a very dangerous path to take. Because in these elections, and for the behavior of the UPND, which they have demonstrated, the only time that the UPND will be prepared to relinquish power is if the defeat is so clear undisputable, and there is no confusion. If there is any element of confusion or dispute or a margin of defeat, I can guarantee you that the character of HH and the character of the UPND in their current state is that they will refuse to give up the election, and in fact it gives room for possible manipulation of the electoral process. So that is not a very good strategy to take. So in conclusion, Ambassador Mwamba, these are some of the reasons. I would have liked to have gone through the others because they are equally very important reasons for this. But I think let me conclude at this point and allow us perhaps to move to other areas.
You've given a candid but probably damning assessment, and I like the literal reprimand you've given to all opposition leaders. You've been very candid, and I call it a reprimand because that's what it is. Now, there's a word you have used, I think this is the third time on this program, that Zambia is facing an existential threat. And probably that's why you're even being hard on the opposition, whipping them in unity. What existential threat do we face? Meaning, literally, the life of Zambia is threatened. Our peace and security is threatened. What policies is this man pushing?
Yes.
That you are using such a strong term?
Yeah, maybe I can refer to three of them, Ambassador. Just maybe I can refer to many, but let me just refer to three of them. The first one is as a result of the point I made earlier on at the beginning of the show when you asked me about the state of our country. And I said, never has there been in my participation in the political process of this country where I think that the country is so divided. And the country is so divided basically on ethnic lines. And the president himself, our president, President HH, has been insinuating and promoting that ethnic divide. If you remember, there was a statement in which he was claiming that all his predecessors before him, when they tried to change the constitution, they were never opposed and they were never hated the way he's hated. And he went on to start asking questions on what reason is this HH being hated? What is the question there? What are the issues there? This sort of hate, I can feel it. I can touch it because it's this animal pariah. The insinuations which I've been writing articles on this is clearly an insinuation of self-victimization on the basis of his ethnicity. And he's trying to get a particular group who he thinks will identify with his victimization. Now, that is very dangerous for a country to do. And I think that if we don't put a stop to this by the Zambian people, that it will disturb the integrity of the national state of Zambia, which we have kept for the last 60 years. That is an existential threat. No matter what happens on the economic side, if there's going to be a threat in terms of governance and ethnical issues, then we are in trouble as a country. That is an existential threat. The second existential threat is this. Never has there been such an onslaught on the capacity of the opposition to do its work. Even if you look at the PF, even if you look at the MMD, and my brother, as you know, I have been consistently in most of my political career in the opposition. Never have I faced a situation where a political party in government clearly is trying to disturb the main opposition political party. Chawinga actually admitted it in the leaked video. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to look at that thing. But that video of Chawinga is proof that the UPND has been actively involved in ensuring that they destroy the main opposition party in parliament and in the councils. And there is no one who can even deny it. His self-confession is very clear. And that has been done to all other political parties, including ourselves. There are certain things as the Zambia we want we've been unable to achieve simply because we know that if we take this particular trade and we have tried it, there has been a blockage. Demonstrations, blockage. Peaceful demonstration, blockage. Peaceful demands for certain protests and meetings to be held, blocked. And we have faced this. So the existential threat is also in regard to a further deterioration of the democratic process. I am convinced, as many of my colleagues are convinced, that the objective of the current administration is to have a situation where the UPND becomes a de facto one-party state. If they win the next elections, I think that the direction they want to take is where they ensure that they tighten all the screws of equal representations in the police, in the army, in the civil service, and others, to make it an impossible situation where the majority groupings as a collective can have a voice in public life in preference for a voice from one particular group. And I mean, this is a fear, okay, that I think that needs to be looked at, and no amount of threat from the government that you are being tribal is going to stop me or anybody else from shouting that there is a possible victimization of others with exclusion. And if they want, I offer them, they can come and pick me up at my house tonight and take me to the jail and charge me with sedition if they want. I will not stop to talk about a behavior from the state which is a threat to the national integrity and democratic process of this country. Maybe let me stop there. As I said, there may have been other factors, but let me give an opportunity to the viewers to have a chance.
Many callers are saying that I should bring you back, and they want those thoughts you're hanging to be completed because they think that you deserve part 2, but that's something we'll discuss. So call us, this is your time. You can call us on 0973 078082. You can call us on WhatsApp. The phone lines are open. We are hosting the Zambia We Want spokesperson, Honorable Muhabi Lungu. He's a former diplomat, very distinguished economist. He was former spokesperson for the late President Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, and you remember his participation in politics. So we will open the phone lines, but you talked about the video. I think I have the video of the president literally claiming that he's being treated differently by Zambians because he's a pariah or because of his tribe. Very unfortunate remarks. And I've got this video. Let me see if we can quickly play it. Then we take the phone lines.
He is always viewed to be malicious and assessed differently from presidents before me. You want me to justify that? Yes. This country since independence has had 4 political parties running the country. UNIP, MMD, PF, and now UPND. All these 3 have amended the constitution. UNIP amended the constitution, I think twice. 1972 or 73, correct me if I'm wrong. 1991, it was UNIP that amended the constitution. In 1996, MMD amended the constitution. In 2016, PF amended the constitution. There wasn't this sort of hatred I can touch, I can feel, because it is HH. It is this animal pariah we don't like. Why don't you like your fellow citizen? What's the issue? When did they amend the constitution, Chair? Because you are saying, no, you don't want to amend the constitution in the election year. 1991, election year, UNIP. 1996, MMD, election year. 2016, under PF, election year. January, election was the August 2016, President Lungu. This fellow, you are saying, no, you can't do it. What is the issue, colleagues? With due respect, with politeness. Timing? There's no divine time. The process we're invoking is under Article 79. There is no other article. Constitutional review commissions have been held. Chona, Mwanakatwe, Mungomba, which one else? Mvunga. And then the NCC, under the late Mwanawasa, I think. Did they result in a total overhaul of the Constitution? Zero. Laws is saying not or not. Zero. None of them resulted into an overhaul of the Constitution. This particular fellow, this particular government, no, we want a total overhaul. Why? Let me just mention one or two more things and I'll stand down. I'm really asking for a normal conversation. Assume I'm not the president. I must assume I'm just a fellow citizen. Why? What is this heat all about? What is this abuse, throwing stones, insults, all of this? So now, an attempt was made for an overhaul of the Constitution in 2015, when we had a referendum. Most of you have forgotten. Referendum would have allowed us to amend the Constitution holistically. The referendum failed. We were not even availed with the results of the referendum. I don't know who knows the results. All we know it failed. Citizens said no.
Your Excellency, the country would want to know what excites you know, when you were at the helm of this country for 27 years. I'm sure there must be one moment you can point out to.
No, I think that my happiness, Owen, is that up to this point in time, as I've said already, I have not come across a single man in politics who is today thinking of splitting Zambia. Apart from this is my aide man in Zimbabwe, this is the southern province. He tried to do that, I think, but he didn't succeed. This is what he's.
Okay, so we.
No, I think he will finish it at all.
Okay.
This is my southern province. What is he? The man is running his party.
Which one? Magande?
No.
He comes from Southern Province.
Southern Province, yes. This man, who is he?
Hakainde Hichilema.
Hakainde
Hichilema.
Hichilema.
Hakainde Hichilema.
Who running this?
UPND.
UPND. Apart from that, there is no other leader I can fear to run this country. All these others who have running parties, I can't see any one of them trying to destroy one Zambia, one nation.
Wish you well.
Owen Mianzi there tried very hard to leave the subject, but Dr. Kenneth Kaunda was insistent that it must be said. Of course, on account of his age, you forget names. He forgot the name. And Owen Mianzi there even proposed Ngandu Magande because he didn't want to be, prejudicial. But President Kaunda was very insistent. And when they said Hakainde Hichilema, he says, that's the most person I fear most to run this country. And he says, in his entire life, there's no person that he fears who divide Zambia and who destroy the one Zambia, one nation motto than Hakainde Hichilema. Now, those were very deep thoughts. So, but before we go there, let me invite our callers. The phone is buzzing already. I've got so many missed calls already. But let's hear from the callers. Caller, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Just hold on. You're on speaker. Let me just see how I can disconnect. I didn't. Let me just a minute. Let me just disconnect the Bluetooth. Just a minute. Okay, caller, now you're on. Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba, for bringing this son of the soil, an intellectual and a scholar. Good evening, Muhabi Lungu, my elder brother.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, so you remember we spoke briefly last week with a friend of mine, George Lumanda, and I think we need to share notes going further, you know. But Mojave, what you said, no wonder people are saying they need part 2 from you. Zambia needs many patriotic people like you. You're a true leader. Because so many true leaders don't need titles. They don't even want to lead. You know, when you look at Mwanawasa didn't even want to lead. He had to be waking up at night. You know, you're not just a patriotic Zambian, you're a critical thinker. And that's what Zambia needs going forward. But Mojave, Zambia is at the crossroads. We are literally in a serious crisis. And you've mentioned so many things. I'm not going to go through them, but I'm so happy that there are people like you who are using empirical data. What you've said, what I've done, I've spoken to so many opposition leaders. Some have refused to speak to me. Some have spoken to me, but I'm not going to mention their names. But what you are saying, you know, opposition unity is not an option, Mojave. It's a necessity. Actually, it's absolutely needed. It's a priority. You know, because we've got this guy who is so obsessed with power. And this guy is, you know, our nation is descending into a tyrant. And that's his plan. And if we allow this guy, Mojave, this is what you need to tell your fellow opposition leaders. We allow this guy another term, Zambia is finished. As you stated, no nation, Zambia can record 10%, 20%. You know, the problem with this guy is not the economy. There are so many other things that are very important, like unity of the nation, unity of purpose. But Mojave, you know, you're an economist. You know that no nation has experienced sustainable development and growth without unity of purpose, without national unity, you know, without strong opposition, without strong institutions, which is destroying, you know. And Mojave, let's keep on talking, and we need the opposition to be united, you know, or else our country is gonna descend into tyranny, and the rest is, you know, I don't know what to say. I rest my case. Thank you so much, and I hope we should start talking and share some notes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, please. It looks like we have SG. SG, let me just disconnect you from Bluetooth. Oh my, you know, when I come to these platforms, my Bluetooth is on. Just a minute. Yeah, just a minute. So that's what we. SG, I'm hosting SG Raphael Nakachinda, who is Secretary General of Tonse Alliance and Secretary General of the Patriotic Front. We are hosting your dear brother, Honorable Muhabi Lungu. Make your contributions. Oh, sorry.
Calling, because obviously the discourse is bringing to the table is what the battle cry is in Patriotic Front. One, Comrade Muhabi Lungu, I agree with you not only on the sentiments that you have presented on this program, but also your
Sorry, this phone is so busy.
if there's an opportunity.
Sorry, SG, we got cut here. Mr. David Piri, you are calling through Facebook, so you are interfering the entire network. Just call David Piri, just call on the numbers given. I don't know who this David Piri, but when you call on Facebook, we are broadcasting on Facebook, so you are interfering the entire network. Continue, SG. Oh, continue, SG. Thank you. Continue, SG. Thank you. Continue, SG. SG, yeah, please. Sorry, we missed you there, SG. Just begin your thoughts again.
I'm saying that, first of all, I agree with the sentiments and position of Comrade Muhabi Lungu, not only what he has expressed on this program, but also his write-ups and discourse so far, and also our private conversations,
Let me just dismiss this man. Hello? Mr. David Piri, can you stop calling on Facebook? We are broadcasting on Facebook. So you are interfering with the entire network. Call on the number that we have given, please. Sorry, SG. SG, are you there?
I'm here.
Sorry, yeah.
Ambassador, have you been able to nip in the bag the interference?
Yes. Proceed. Thank you. Proceed. Thank you.
So I was saying, Ambassador, that first of all, I agree entirely with Comrade Muhabi Lungu's sentiments. That is the battle cry within PF, that we have a bigger responsibility that should not be reduced to personal interest or indeed partisan interest. At this particular point, we have to broaden our scope in the way we focus and purpose our political discourse. If your sacrifice, Ambassador, and many others, to even find yourself out of Zambia's jurisdiction, and I know that you're committed to come and face whatever it is that is required of you to do it for the country, but your sacrifice for it to be worth it. How seize this opportunity of having a failed government that is intended to correct a failed state. Collectively correct what is going and refocus this country. And that will only happen if the discourse is upped from personal ambition and all these issues that they have caused Zambia to remain stagnant, weed out and collectively begin to create a template or a script that will get us to a point where it's no longer about personalities, no longer about individual ambitions, but it's about the future of the country. And we come up with a template that will give us an opportunity to come up with a set of leaders that will reshape this country and refocus this country. And I must go not as a matter of option. It is inevitably required that we stop the damage that UPND is causing to the country. And I think we hear voices like that of Muhabi Lungu, and I want to also appeal to others who have understood the times and the season we're in and what is required to be done. Ambassador Mwamba, I can only say, as your brother, before we talk about titles, secretary general, whatever, the contribution you are making, Muhabi Lungu, what the contribution you are making, can we all begin to rally the country around what is important and, curtail the destructive elements of individuals who want to more or less protect their personal interests above what is more important for this country. And I just wanted to commend Muhabi Lungu, but also continue to salute you. I've saluted you privately, Ambassador Lungu, but I think publicly I want to say continue to be patriotic and contribute with all the skill and talent you have for this country to be shaped in the right direction.
Thank you. Thank you very much, SG. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, SG. Thank you very much. The phones are buzzing, Honorable Muhabi Lungu. Let's just take a few calls so that we hear what our people are saying. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, Mwamba. This is Zephania from Lusaka.
Yes, Zephania, make your contributions. Yes, Zephania, make your contributions.
Yes, Muliuli, yes, Bwiniwani, Muhabi Lungu, Mwayobo ya Chombeni. My contribution is that, Mwamba, first and foremost, I want to thank you again. You have brought a well-articulated man who has brought a lot of issues that the people in opposition, but they should come together like we have been speaking on this platform. And he has explained very well. And what I want just to ask Muhabi is that, look at the PF is the biggest opposition party. What measures as Zambia we want that we are going to work hand in hand with the PF so that they can protect the PF which has been under threat from the inception the UPND formed government, because they have been planning, as you can see, they have locked almost should be 7 seats or 6 seats in parliament without being concluded through the proper process from the courts of law. And when you look at the without PF, it would be very difficult for this, I'll call them small opposition, but I know that they are going to add value in it as we come together and form a formidable team, like he has said. Because
thank you, thank you, Zephania. Thank you, Zephania. Hello, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Anonymous, make your contributions. Anonymous, make your contributions.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Emmanuel, and greetings to Comrade Muhabi Lungu. Great inspiration, given so much hope tonight. There is indeed the remnant in the country for us to get delivered out of the difficulties we are facing. Ambassador Emmanuel, please allow these guests to be giving us where they are, where we can find them. Muhabi Lungu feels like you can raise the critical mass of like minds as we march into 2026. Please guide us where we can find you. As you opposition leaders keep talking about joining hands individually as the Zambia we want, please begin to raise us as a critical mass. It's time, and we are running.
Thank you, my technician. Resolve the issue of echo. Everyone is writing echo. I know probably we've put up the speaker for Honorable Muhabi Lungu to listen. Maybe just reduce it a bit. Everyone is saying echo. Put it in a way that he still can hear, but it doesn't give us this huge feedback. Thank you. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Anonymous. Good evening, Honorable Muhabi Lungu. Thank you very much for a great insight. I've had a conversation with you 2-3 months ago when you did an article regarding the same, where you talked about opposition parties. I have a question for you. You are an economist, and you're not just concerned about wanting to see the opposition, hopefully, forming government next year. You also want quality. You highlighted you're talking about some selfishness, some greediness of some opposition leaders. Not directly, but you imply that others do it for fashion, others do it for themselves, others do it for, whatever support or an agenda they would want to come through with. Now, my question is, you are trying to have one voice and trying to mobilize that opposition work together. Mind you, if you or any other forms government and goes into an alliance with this opposition, those oppositions would have an expectation. And my question is, knowing fully well that some of these opposition leaders are selfish, is that what Zambia wants? How do we avoid a situation where we know we have selfish politicians, but in order to win that election, you want to form an alliance with them? Now, I want you to talk about the Zambian people who will be the receivers of these leaders. You are trying to cherry pick these leaders. But then at the moment, we can't really cherry pick. What you are trying to avoid is a situation where votes are split. Now, you are trying to mobilize that every opposition belongs to one. And already we've heard it on Bamwamba's platform that majority are big. Are we also being critical on who are we taking with us to the high table? I think it's very important. It's very essential. We must be aware of who we take with us. I would rather they get zeros or they split the vote than to get them and come and put them as members or ministers. And later on, we should come and start talking about ZAMSA. We should come and talk about corruption here. We can't go into forming government with already red flags. So I would like to hear your feedback on that one. Thank you very, very much. And I like how you speak. I've spoken with you and I'll definitely get in touch again. Thank you so much, Ramamba. And thank you, Muhabi. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Essential Banda.
Honorable Essential Banda, make your contributions.
Honorable Ambassador Muhabi has raised a lot of pertinent issues, but I'll just speak to two, which I think are very critical. Firstly is the issue of having a united opposition. I do admit that the death of the former president has exposed 40 lines, both in opposition, as a country, in the PF, and across the board. But again, this has brought actually a unique opportunity to redefine leadership, as well as to rebuild trust, and as well as also to of Zambia. And therefore, even there's a call for a united opposition, is that there's need to have a shared vision, such that even as we agitate for this united vision, united opposition, there must be a shared vision which will inform the programs which they'll go out there to engage the people and give hope to the people. That is very key. And secondly, in that score, there's need to put egos away and ensure that whoever will be chosen, everybody else should rally behind. The other aspect which we should take note of is that Zambia is a democratic state, and democracy is not just about election. It's about having fair rules. It's about equity in terms of participation. It's about having credible institutions which are at the core of running elections. In the state of ECZ today, is not in the state to be able to manage a free and fair election. That has been seen in how they have managed previous elections, by-elections in Kwacha, Kawoshi, and so on and so forth. I think there's need for every well-meaning Zambians, including the state actors themselves, to come together, to come up with an ECZ which will deliver a credible election in 2026. But that will not happen unless, as Zambians, the opposition leaders will come together. There's a concerted effort to have that done. I thought I should highlight this issue so that they should be at the back of the mind.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Sensio Banda. The cause are so many. Let's just get another, just a few, so that you have a general view of what Zambia thinks about the opposition and the need to be united. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mwamba, Ambassador. Just keep me anonymous. I have just a very short contribution.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Mwamba. The issue, I just want to appreciate for bringing Mr. Muhabi Lungu on the floor. And my question just goes to Mr. Muhabi Lungu, the man who is so sober and is not selfish. I want to just ask him if at all he has some ambitions to stand as a president for this country, especially in this time where the political parties are divided. I want to ask him if at all he can find a very credible combination of people. Maybe you can give him a chance so that we may have a proper contender in this country, sober-minded, and who loves the people of Zambia, which is very much needed at this particular time. My question is just whether Mr. Muhabi Lungu has the interest to stand for this country. The man is best for this country. I think if we can have 5 of such people in Tonse Alliance who can be able to come together to see to it that, okay, this is what we need as a country, I think as we are heading to 2026 election, things can be better because indeed the man has a heart for the people and he's articulating things very well and what is needed going forward. Mr. Muhabi Lungu, are you ready to stand whereby you can mobilize with people and become the best contender for this country? Because we are lacking such an opposition that is stand firm to try and help the people of Zambia. The division within the political parties are affecting everything that we will do in 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Muhabi Lungu, I'll invite you to make some comments. I think the echo, everyone is now saying the echo has subsided. You've done very well. And I noticed you had some power cut, and I think we've migrated to standby power. Let's just ensure that everything is okay. Please make your answer this, then we go to the next set of questions.
Because I would like to receive as much feedback as possible. Let me start with the last one. Let me start with the last question. Anonymous, who's saying, do I have any ambitions for the presidency, etc., etc. And I want to be very categorical to you, my brother. First of all, I thank you. I thank you very much for you recognizing that I may have some qualities for you to consider me in this position. But my answer is a categorical no. At least for the elections of 2026, I have absolutely no ambition to be president, and I have absolutely no ambition to be the vice president or the running mate. But I want you to understand and share the reasons why. It is not because I don't think I'm capable. It is not because I am unwilling or that I don't have a desire for it. It is because I think that the number one problem in this country is that there are far, far too many of us who have made a little name or have made some little money or have been called honorable or president or whatever, that all of a sudden begin to think that we can become president. There has to be some level of individuals who are prepared to be part of the process of reform and agents of reform without wanting to always lead from the front. For me as an individual, by Anonymous, I have never, ever in my life needed a title for me to be heard. I have never needed power to have influence. I have never, ever needed a recognition that I must be seated at the high table for my voice to be heard at the table. And I think that it is the wrong premise to believe that the only way in which you can contribute and help your country forward is for you to be president. That one I completely disagree with. And I will conclude by saying this on this particular question. And I must apologize, Ambassador Mwamba, and to the listeners, if it will sound rude or it will sound arrogant from my part. But it is the truth, and it is the way I believe it and others have been believe it. If you put my CV on the table of what I have been able to achieve in my personal life and in public life, whether it is as a lecturer at the University of Zambia, whether it is an advisor to the government of Zambia, whether it is as a diplomat, whether it has been an assistant to Dr. Kaunda, and so many others that I've been able to do, I can safely say to you that if you take my CV and put it against some, in fact, many of the people who are demanding that they should be considered as president, both in terms of education, in terms of experience, and in terms of exposure, I would probably have a much greater claim for me to want to be president than many of them. Okay? But, as I said earlier, that cannot be the basis upon which everyone wants to be president. As my younger brother, the SG, and I'll refer to him later, saying, Mr. Nakachinda, this is the time for all of us to put our selfish and individual interest aside for the collective good. There can only be one president at one particular time, and sometimes the president who will be identified as the best candidate is not a statement that that person is the most intelligent, that person is the richest, or that person is the most debonair. It just means that for this particular time, for this particular space, the one who we will select will have the qualities is this one. So even if I'm outside, it doesn't mean that I'm lesser. It doesn't mean that I'm lesser. So I think that is very important. And again, I'm sorry if I sound too arrogant, but no. At this point, my interest is that myself, my brother, Ambassador George Chilumanda, who we've been working very close with, Sakiwa Scotta, Dr. Fred Membe, Honorable Nakachinda, we've had many private conversations together, and others, have to agree that what is in the best interest of the country is this. Our individual interests must be put aside. So I hope that I've been very categorical, not for now. If I am alive and I am healthy, maybe in 2036, if I'm alive and healthy. But I sure do hope that by that time we'll have been managed to overcome this government and we can do other things. So that is that. My brother Sensho Banda, again, thank you very much. I agree with we need a collective vision and that we need to really be able to look at these things from a self-interest point of view, and I think that we are just in agreement. The question which I would also like to spend some time is question number 5. There was a lady who asked about selfishness, and if you have red flags, why can't you let those other opposition get 0? One of the reasons, which I would have given when I had a number of the reasons why we should be have a united front, one of the reasons is the fact that our democratic system in this country, since 1991 when we flipped over to a plural system, is the recognition by many of us that we are still a very immature democracy. We have not been able to increase from the C+, which we started from in 1991, to maybe a B+, or even an A grade democracy in the last 30 years. So one of the reasons why we want to be able to bring some form of consolidation is not only because we want to win, but it is also because we think that a more functional democratic system will only occur if we have got some form of cohesion in terms of economic policy, in terms of political policy, in terms of governance policy, within a range by which we can, beyond 2026 and beyond, maybe we can have 3 consolidated, or maybe at most 4 consolidated political parties which have got an ideological range which fits in very well with other mature democracies. So this consolidation is very important. From an economic point of view, when industrialization begins to have a great impact in terms of resolving some of the challenges of lack of want in an economy, what you will find is the creation of consolidation of what you would call multinational companies or conglomerates. Conglomerates should not overtake everything. It doesn't mean that there shouldn't be small businesses, there shouldn't be mom and pop businesses, there shouldn't be sole proprietorships or partnership. But there is a synergy that is created when you have 2 or 3 or 4 big giant corporations in a particular industries, and then what you would call outgrower industries that show a great degree of flexibility more than the conglomerates. It makes the economy well consolidated. In the same way, you have to create that sort of space in the political space, and you will have a properly functioning institutionalized democracy. Concluding on this particular issue, and Ambassador, you can stop me if I'm speaking too long. But the point
let me do this. Let's just take another set of callers. It's terrible that we had that interruption for over 15 minutes when we didn't have a network and we lost a lot of time. But let's hear from the callers. Then you begin to answer them and begin to conclude. I'm cognizant of the time. On social media, we can go on forever. We don't have restrictions like live TV and adverts. Here, we can go on if you have the energy, we have the power, we can go on, but I have to be cognizant of my guests. Caller, please tell us your name and quickly contribute, ask your question or make a brief contributions so that we allow as many people to call as possible.
My contribution, Emmanuel, I'm going to be known as.
Yes, please.
Well, yeah, I'm happy that you and Muhabi, you are there today. You 2 people, you were there during the 1991 when we had that revolution. And you see, we are talking about, people are saying that, if it happened in 1991, it can happen now. Me, the way I've seen it, that in 1991, we had a movement. And that movement, too, was helped by Oasis Forum. Oasis Forum and the church. Those 2 came to coordinate the movement. Otherwise, if the movement was not had to be coordinated by these 2, we would have also gone through problems. So even now, I propose that to Muhabi Lungu and his friends that let's have some sort of like a Oasis Forum to coordinate these particular political parties, because to be honest with you, some of them, when they come on that program of yours, they say we are willing. But to be honest with you, when they are on their own, each one of them is going wings and pretending to be a presidential candidate. So we need a forum that can put them together and coordinate them. Not as they themselves do. We are talking about Tonze, Yuka. I wish Oasis Forum could be formed, could come back, and the church to put all these people together and talk to them.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Let's take quickly. The phone is jammed. So let's be brief, caller. Kindly introduce yourself and make your contributions or question.
Manuel from Botswana.
Yes, please make your contribution.
Yes, my question to Mr. Lungu and yourself, Ambassador, is the state of ECZ for now. He doesn't guarantee us to win the election for 2026. So my question is, what are we going to do with the current ECZ, the people at ECZ? That's my question.
Thank you. We have so many missed calls, but let me just get a few so that at least we have a sample of what the country is saying. Caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from, and be brief.
Yes, please make your contribution.
Hello, caller.
Hello, Ambassador. Good evening.
Good evening.
And good evening, Honorable Muhabi Lungu.
Thank you. Quickly make your question or contribution.
Yeah, for sure, this is the Zambia we want. And Mr. Mwamba, now, quickly, I want to add on what Mr. Muhabi Lungu has mentioned. Hello?
We are hearing you. Make your contributions quickly.
Yeah, I just want to add on what Honorable Muhabi Lungu has mentioned. Now, I'm going to look at an issue of leadership identification, especially during these moments where the opposition really needs to unite. Now, remember last time I suggested that I'm also bringing another name to the table, and I'll give my reasons. I hope I'll be given even 2 to 3 minutes so that I give my reasons. The person that I'm bringing to the table is Honorable Given Luvinda. When you look at Honorable Given Luvinda, this is a man who is hardworking, who is committed, and who is very, very honest. And when you look at how Mr. Luvinda was appointed, he was appointed exactly 2 weeks after we lost elections in 2021. That's when Mr. Given Luvinda was appointed by the late President, Dr. Edgar. And one of the people that were in that Central Committee meeting is Mr. Samuel Mkupa. I think Mr. Samuel Mkupa, all of you might know him very well. He was a very, very close friend to Mr. Edgar. And in that meeting, he was available. For people that would want to get clarity, they can get in touch with him.
And Anonymous, so you are bringing to the table Honorable Given Luvinda. Thank you very much. He has an opportunity. He's coming on this forum. Let's take as many questions and contribution. Be concise and precise. Hello. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. Good evening, Honorable Muhabi Lungu, my cousin.
Yeah, good evening.
I would like just, good evening, Dr. Judy Diane Ndlovu.
Yes, Dr. Ndlovu from South Africa. Make your contributions quickly.
I would like just to, before I ask the question, to reaffirm the need for us to first of all look at the national vision. I want to believe that there's a national vision which must be the reason why we are coming together. We are not coming together as the opposition political leaders based on our manifestos, which for the longest time have actually been failing, as they have always been, referred to as marketing tactics just to get into office, and when you get there, you start doing exactly opposite to what you were telling the people. And I want to thank the opposition front, because the opposition front has been consistent in preaching about the national vision and the reason why we have to get together, which is bigger than our personal manifestos. And currently what is happening, the narrative of people wanting to become president. So I would like just to ask the Honorable Muhabi Lungu to reiterate the need for us to get together based on the national vision. As somebody that has spent time with the late Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, I'm sure he knows as to why Zambia was founded and the reason why Zambia is here, which is bigger than these personal ambitions.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Let's be... hello, caller. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening. My name, I think just call me Anonymous for now.
Anonymous, make your contribution quickly.
Yes, we are faced with what I think I can call Independence 2.0 right now, because we are trying to prevent UPND and HH from, taking the nation to ruins. So central to this fight is unity. As Ambassador Muhabi Lungu, you have said, and you have ably handled that issue. That unity requires aspiring candidates to walk in humility and for them to put the nation above self-ambition. But we cannot rely on people to make the right decisions in politics, especially, faced with what we are faced with. After all, the Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked, above all things we can understand it. So I have a question for you, Ambassador Muhabi Lungu. Do you think we can use an avenue of primaries for the opposition to help the voters make a pre-election determination, and also to put, every aspiring candidate, to give them a chance to test their popularity and political strength? Do you think a primary would be necessary? And going by the level of your articulation and connections and things like that, do you think that's something that you would like to pursue to help the opposition go into that direction? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution quickly.
Good evening, Honorable Mwamba.
Good evening.
My name is My name is Roy Chama Chisulo.
Thank you, Roy. Make your contribution or your question.
Yes, sir. I'm calling from within Lusaka. Mine has to do with evaluating the presidents. The question to Honorable Muhabi Lungu is, how do you rate the presidents fairly in terms of the 6 points that I have? How do you rate the presidents, the current and the former? Number 1, leadership. Number 2, crisis management. Number 3, the appointments. Number 4, political skill. Number 5, character. Number 6, integrity. What's your take on these 6 points I've mentioned? How do you rate them fairly?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chisulo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The calls are so many. Honorable Muhabi Lungu, let me give you an opportunity to answer. Then we come and get the last 2-3 calls, and then we allow you to wind up. We've already held you for such a long time. But clearly what the viewers are saying is that we need a part 2, especially the provocative thoughts you brought about, I think, the reprimand on the opposition, what should be done to this election, and just the existential threat we face as a country. People want you to expound on those issues. Maybe it's an opportunity for our people. It's like our leaders are all, there's been no self-introspection until you gave a reprimand, a candid reprimand. So make your thoughts and answers, then we come and take the last 3-4 calls, and then we wind up the debate.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mwamba, for all these kind words. And of course, I'm very grateful for all of the observation and the kind words that I'm receiving. I've got here 14 questions. I don't think I'll be able to answer all of them. Maybe let me just pick some of the cardinal ones, and then try to see whether I can quickly cover them. There was one by the last question I was addressing by the lady who was saying, let others get 0, and we need people who are credible, and I was talking about the maturity of the system. But there is a point which I think that is very important there, which is in consonant to the vision that Dr. Njovu Jedediah has mentioned, and to an extent what Vasensio Banda was saying. And this is this. Not only are we promoting that we should have a united front for the purposes of defeating the current administration, but we are very cognizant of the fact that we can't be preoccupied with just replacing someone without having something that is very cogent and reasonable in its place, so that we can be able to say that we did the right things in terms of bringing back good things for the people. So alongside the argument that we must have a united front of everybody is also the proposition that we should also have whichever team that we are going to select, that is the president and the running mate, as well as the team, all of them should be able to sign a social contract that stipulates what is going to be done in the first year, in the first 2 years, in the first 3 years, so that there is no doubt about what we have agreed as a peerage of groups about what is necessary. So if we say we want a constitution to be done within the first 3 years, that must be in the social contract. And that social contract must find a way in which we can bind those people who have been given the opportunity to govern. And in this regard, that is a tie-in to the gentleman who asked the 8th question, that in 1991 we had other movements outside the political sphere, like the Oasis Forum and ZCTU and the Student Union Movement and the church mother bodies. We believe that this is a good idea. We don't want to have a situation where it is only the political parties that are coming together, because there is a genuine fear that we as political players must only do things which will be beneficial to us. We want to be able to do, all of us in the opposition who have been discussing this, want to do something that will be beneficial and will be approved of and witnessed by non-political players, or rather non-politically active players, but we would like to get the Law Association involved, we would like to get NGOCC involved, we want to get other civil society groups involved in us coming up and drawing with a possibly bindable social contract for whatever group of people we agree to put in government. This is very, very important personally to me, because I would like whoever we agree on to be the ticket to sign something that I can hold, that if you abrogate what you signed, what we agreed, that I, Muhabi Lungu, and others will be the first to challenge you. Whether you give me a job or not, I guarantee you that I will be able to say, this is not what we as a collective, with the witness of these other organizations, said we are going to do. We have to stop this behavior in this country, where we all want to aspire to the president to make ourselves rich and to make ourselves gods. We have to stop it. And there are many of us who are committed to being God busters, or to being what you call wealth busters, so that we put our people as the first priority. That I think that covers a number of issues. Let me go to the gentleman who asked about primaries. I do think that in the process of selecting the best ticket, we have to have some form of mechanism which is broad enough for us to determine the characteristics and character of the president and the running mate and the team that is going forward. For too long have we ignored character, integrity, the capacity to deal with crisis, as Roy Chama was saying. So it may not be necessarily a primary, but I think that it could be a mechanism by which, before we select the person who we will front, if we succeed in doing this, and I hope we will, that there could be some input from the general public as to acceptability as well as sellability of that candidate, but as well as character of whoever that candidate will be, whether it will be a woman or whether it will be a man or whatever. I think that, for me, I think I'm open to that. Let me go to the comments that were made by the SG of the Patriotic Front. Honorable Nakashinda, I'm very grateful for the kind words that you used and bestowed upon me. And I would like to confirm that indeed we have had a lot of discussions with my brother, Honorable Nakashinda, and we are agreed that it is absolutely important that every one of us who are either in contention for the seats at the highest level, and every one of us who are pushing this agenda, that the primary objective should be the people of Zambia, should be the democratization of Zambia, should be the institutionalization of Zambia, should be the deliverance of economic empowerment to the people, and less about Muhabi Lungu, about Emmanuel Mwamba, about Nakashinda, or anybody else who may be interested in being part of the process of reform. Let us all be what you would call birth attendants. Let us all be the ones who will be able to say 10 years from now that I was part of the process that brought in this beautiful baby, and now here the baby is running, and we can clearly say that this baby will not only run but will learn how to fly. Then I think that we will have achieved this. So I encourage my brother as Secretary General of the PF to be strong and to be able to shepherd this and to be the better attendant of it. And I'm sure he would be encouraging me the same as I would encourage my brother George Hichilema and many others, that let us for once reduce our levels and the sizes of our head and think about our country. There were several others, selfishness. I think yes, I do remember the gentleman who we had a discussion with on the phone with my brother, Honorable Chulumanda, and it was indeed a very good discussion. Zephaniah talked about the PF. We all want the PF to survive. I think that the day that we can say that democracy has matured in Zambia, in the future, it may be this one, is the day when we can get one of the opposition political party that lost an election is able to reform, be a partner to others, and be able to be part of those who come back to govern. I think that if we can achieve that, it will be important. But that requires that the bigger brother, in his size and in his glory, also takes cognizance of the little brothers. Because you know, as they say, a little rat or a mosquito can make it very difficult for the big guy. Not intentionally. And they say that one of the most difficult times for a human being is when you are sleeping and the little mosquito keeps on bothering and you keep on slapping yourself. So size is important. I think all of us in the opposition recognize the importance of the Patriotic Front, but we would also like to urge the Patriotic Front to recognize what opportunities there may be in some of the smaller parties so that we are able to work together. And I don't mean only the grouping that I'm belonging to, the Zambia We Want, and those in Tonse Alliance, those in UCA, and everyone who wants to be part of that process. I think that maybe let me, my brother suspend, I think I have covered, let me maybe just one more.
The issues, if there are
almost all of them.
Question, I can take the last three calls while we post Honorable Muhabi Lungu. There's a call that you come back and we'll discuss behind the scenes. I think we come and just zero
I'll be most grateful.
Yeah, zero in on the threats that we face, the existential threats that you cited, why I think it's gone to a great extent to demonstrate why we need a united opposition front. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Good evening, Honorable. My name is Rob. I'm calling from Manchester, and it's interesting. Good evening, Mr. Lungu. Good evening. Okay, and
good evening, sir.
I've been very impressed with Mr. Lungu's presentation. As much as he's shown the humility and the Zambianness in him and everything that he said. And if we have a lot of people like him that have the patience and the understanding and putting the country first, it's given me a bit of hope that the alliance might work if we have people like him that are very patient. He's not shown any pride in as much as he's got a lot of experience. And all I can just say is thank you so much, and may the spirit continue. And hopefully your colleagues will listen to you that we have a bigger challenge. If we do not win this fight, our country will be very difficult if we win this fight 10, 15 years from now, because the economy will be in a very bad state. So we better get hold of everything that we have and fight together and don't sleep. Mr. Mwamba is not sleeping. So let's work together. And you tell even the opposition there's no time to sleep. We have a fight. It's like fighting independence 2.0. You know, so let's fight together. We're gonna need everyone And thank you for your humility again and your wisdom and everything you've shared today. May God bless you and may God bless the leadership of the opposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Everyone is saying this is Independence 2.0. Caller, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Mr. Lungu.
Yes.
Well, I know a lot of callers have called to thank you, Mr. Lungu, but I don't think, Bamwamba, you mind even having a lot of us just coming to say thank you very much for the great analysis on the issues that will surround next year's general elections. Because I think a lot of us needed to hear that so that we understand the different aspects that will be at play come August 2026. So, Mr. Lungu, hands up. I just wish all the political parties involved will start seeing things as they are and just put their personal interests aside, because right now we do not need political parties to even be talking about their individual parties. Zambia is big and we all want to see people who love our country, who care for our country, because we need Zambia to be not where it is right now, to be a better Zambia. And please, Mr. Lungu, we ask that you come back because I think you still have a lot to tell us. So God bless you, and we can't wait to see you again, hopefully next week.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very clear that people want you back. This is, as politician, you're obliged to give people what they want. So I think you'll be invited back. You know, the great analysis you put, that is, this election is unique. First, the threat that we face. And secondly, that we don't have a main contender. You cited previous elections where you could clearly see the main contender to the incumbent. Now you are stating that there's no main contender. Then the threats we face, because this is it, appears not to be able to deliver free and fair elections in its state, and it therefore threatens our national peace and security. What do we do? So let me invite you to make your this gentleman has been calling. Is lucky I said 3, so he could be the last caller. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Hello, caller. Uh-oh. Hello, caller. Caller, you've muted yourself. If you can hear me, you've muted yourself. It's showing that you've muted yourself. The caller has muted himself. Oh, I was just so sorry. So next time we've got so many missed calls, and I wish to apologize. But there's a promise that Honorable Muhabi Lungu may come back just to give this insightful analysis of the threats we face, so that maybe all opposition leaders can wake up and face the monster we face and the things we need to do as leaders in the opposition. And I also love your insight that it can't just be politicians. Where is the church? Where is okay, so the last caller has now come. I hope it goes through. This appears to be our Catholic priest from Italy, Donosco Father Oscar Mwansapombo. Is that you, sir?
Yes, thank you very much, it's me. Good evening.
Good evening.
And
Please
good
make your
evening to
contribution. Yes.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. I know I might divert for the beautiful ways that the gentleman has been speaking. I might divert, but nevertheless, I would like to appreciate what all of the people, they have appreciated that you have spoke very well, and even me as well. I would love you to come back on Emmanuel Mamba's platform. I would love you to come back, sir. Now, my question is this. I might go out of bounds, but please allow me to ask this question. We have the crisis in our country. We have a crisis in our country. And My question regards the body of our former president, ECL. Our president, Dr. Hakainde Hichilema, announced that ECL died 1 month ago, 1 month and some days ago. He announced and he confirmed that ECL has died. Today we hear there are attempts to go and verify, I repeat, to go and verify whether ECL has died. So can you help me, please? And can you help the many Zambians who might be confused at this extent? If the president a month ago announced and accepted that ECL has passed away, what is the meaning of him sending people to go and verify that he is dead? So if they announced he was dead, who was the person they announced last time that he was dead? Was he a human being or something else? Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Mwansa Pombo from Italy. Yeah, maybe you may start with that. I know you touched on it, but the latest application by the lawyers for the Attorney General to demand to inspect and authenticate the body of the president raises very, very serious issues. First of all, we look like we are not serious. And number one, who verifies the authenticity of the dead? Isn't it the family? Why is President Hakainde Hichilema engaged in this? This matter is not going away. And then you can answer our callers and then begin to and provide your last views, Mr. Muhabi Lungu. And then we'll inform our callers in due course. I think he can come back next week. Let me hand over the microphone to you, sir.
Thank you for the question, but you know, the issue that has been raised by Father Mwansa is very troubling to me. And that is the reason why I deliberately used very strong words to say what the government is doing to the Lungu family is extremely cruel. And I repeat this, I think that it is a very cruel thing that they are doing. To suggest that the Lungu family can devise a ruse or a conspiracy or a trick regarding the death of a husband, a father, and get all of us accomplices in it by being aggrieved, by the whole country crying, by even going to the extent of the family agreeing with the state that if ABC is done, we will bring the body for burial, and so on. To actually suggest that by the state shows me that all those individuals that are propagating this type of thinking have got something seriously wrong with them on a psychological basis. Because this is too much trauma for the family and for the rest of us to actually try and spin this as a basis of it being a hoax. It is incredible. I cannot think of anything that can define a neurosis and a narcissist in the office of the executive than this. I cannot believe for a single base that the president's men and his people can actually making this suggestion. What will happen when they come and find out what we all know to be true, that there has been a bereavement? Will they come to apologize? What right can they possibly rewrite on all of these aspersions which they have cast on the family and on the churches that have been involved? It is an incredible thing, and that is the reason why at one point I had said this is one of the darkest moments in Zambia's history. It is extremely dark for a Christian nation that we can even be entertaining things like this. So that is my comment on that. My brother on the other ones, let me elect for the moment not to proceed any further. and basically just thank the viewers and the listeners for this time that we've had together. I am obviously always prepared to be at your beck and call to be able to discuss these matters and to discuss them with the amount of detail that just doesn't require us making verbose statements which have got no empirical evidence. But most of all, my brother, I'm very grateful to you, Vamwamba, for the work that you are doing and for the enormous courage that you have exhibited, just like the courage that I have seen in Nakashinda over the years. We really do need many of us to be courageous because the first thing that dictators do is to create an environment of fear. Immediately we acquiesce to that fear, then they will run over all of us and just obliterate us. So, Ambassador Mwamba, I'm very grateful. Please continue. I admire the work you do, and I wish you long life. I really do. And I'm grateful for the invitation. From the Zambia we are grateful for having been given this opportunity.
Yes, thank you very much. We've lined up Ernest Mwansa, the current leader of the organization. I think we'll tie up the dates with you. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful because Honorable Muhabi Lungu brought some insights. Sometimes tuwaritemo kulandira mapa, nefyo tuishive, tulelandira mapa, even things we know need to be said. And Honorable Muhabi Lungu did that very well. He brought the issues on the surface. If you don't acknowledge your weakness, there's no way you're going to resolve the problem or strengthen yourself. What he did was to bring our weaknesses to the table so that we can face them and then help us plan to go, ahead. Tomorrow we have leader of the opposition in parliament, Brian Munduwile. Many people were asking me, why do you still call him leader of the opposition in parliament? He's still the legitimate leader. Whatever honorable Speaker of the National Assembly did was illegal. So for me, I still call him leader of the opposition. So Brian Munduwile will be with us. And with the insights that you've gotten from Mr. Muhabi Lungu, you can throw those questions to Brian Munduwile. Will be with us tomorrow. And then we've lined up, as you heard, even Honorable Ernest Mwansa and others, and the return of Muhabi Lungu to come and just deal with the issues that we face for 2026. So until we have another program, thank you very much and thank you for your insights. God bless you and thank you for your patience. To the many callers, I can see how many missed calls. The others are still calling, as you can hear. I'm so sorry. We have so many missed calls. That's how much people wanted to speak to you. So we will find mechanisms, especially when we begin to migrate to TikTok. Today we are not on TikTok, where you can take and, we can allow Honorable Muhabi Lungu to just mute himself and then he can hear to the conversation and even in bed he can answer you. That's a goodness with TikTok. It doesn't have to be before a studio like setup like we have done now. But that's for another day, not today. So God bless you and shalom, shalom.
Those who voted for change must have now realized that the president they voted for has kept this country paralyzed. If you voted for him, but you're also feeling the pain, I hope you do your best to see it never happens again. Those who voted for change must have now realized that the president they voted for has kept this country paralyzed. If you voted for him, but you're also feeling the pain, I hope you do your best to see it never happens again.
Lelo bwacha bakamba mukyalo kyesu kya Zambia ekyaweka enjoy. Abantu bafo bakamba kule kumumfumbwe. More than 20 people balebe pati ni babiri. Bagamba. Fish to arufyanya. People have died. Mumino yabaka pakola. The police killing people. Why? In the same government bagamba. Abductions have happened. Bagamba. If you're not with them, it's either you're dead or you're in prison. This government, you're going to change, big man. Fish to Arabia, never come become office. Fish to Arabia. Why me? Missing. Achadi Ruba White one, this owner. Where is why me? Hey, change, tell us with your government, where is why me? Give us why me. Justice for why me, big man. Watching mo HH. Wala to push a bega go to push our gamba. That's why they get full and the big man. Why you think? Man, I want that. Something to say, man. Bagamba. What is that to appoint? Mutala Jesu. It's a Zambia. Tuamona mwepwa. Bagao. Tuamona mwepwa. Nama objections bagao. Owo muteko toaleta. Watu lete lama. Amazala mush. No you can take her. Kola ipompa today. No you can take her. Apa nomba bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wenyu tayakwa kwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Itayakwa. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuyati kwenyu kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mayona batata. Ba mayona batata. Ba youthi. Jentu isuli amenso. Jentu isuli amenso. Batu sendela nomba batu ipaila na hope Yesu. Edgar chagwa Lungu watu bela tinani kwa tila plan B. Nomba tu wadishiba plan B aba mmino ya kualesa. Bantu banga abala fa mucharo chesu cha Zambia. Nibanga abantu abala abducted mucharo chesu cha Zambia. Bambire kuli jeje banda. Nibanga abantu abala ba prison. Abena chitotela chilangwa. Wonse baba prison netunguru shina shimbi na shimbi. Muri one government ya kwa HH. Abantu naba fa mweleza. Aikata nomba baikata na kuli Edgar chagwa Lungu watu kwa tile plan B. Apa kubo vya vyo mufulo big man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Bila mine mansendela Edgar chagwa Lungu. Apa nomba bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakuvota bade. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wakufuatika fuatika. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Wenyu tayakwa kwe. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Aikona man. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Itayakwa mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. Yakuyati kwenyu kwenyu. Mufulo pa mufulo. Mufulo pa mufulo. HH does not mean well for Mother Zambia. Zambia to Asebana, this is not the Mother Zambia that we were left with by our ancestors, our forefathers who fought so hard to liberate us. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Nalumino Mundia, Mama Julia Chikamoneka, Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, they fought so hard to put this country on the map, to put this country where it is today. No man would destroy this country because we believe in unity. One Zambia, one nation, and we shall together we will change, and we are going to change this government. My name is Blaze Zambia.